What's going on, guys? This is Nate from the Script Academy welcoming you to another deck profile here on the channel. Today I've got Josh here with his Madolche deck that he took to locals today. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it.
Alright, so before I go anywhere with this, I just want to say be gracious with my build. Feel free to criticize it, but this build is just what I'm comfortable with, and I didn't have time before today's tournament to edit it or make it any better. So let's just go right into it. So we got our 9 combo starters. We got 3 Madolche Petting Susur, 3 Madolche Angeli, and 3 Madolche Madolche. So what each of these guys do is Madolche Madolche, when it's normal summon, gets you a free search for any Madolche monster, which is pretty good. Got Madolche Angeli. She contributes herself on board to special summon any Madolche monster from deck, but it's shuffled into the deck during the end phase of the next turn. And then Madolche Petting Susur special summons herself if you have no monsters in your graveyard, and if you do that, you get a free Madolche monster from deck with a level reduction of 1. And those are pretty much your 3 starters. They all are pretty consistent, and they are pretty open-ended. So you got those, and I have Madolche Pudding Cess. I only run 1 of her. Get her from the deck on the board using Petting Susur's effect. She becomes a level 4, which is pretty much a free rank 4 Madolche monster. We got 3 Madolche Messengelato. This guy's pretty good when you special summon him by any means. As long as you control Beast type Madolche monster, you can add a Madolche spell or trap from deck, and there's quite a few spells and traps now with all the support that's been out. And it pretty open-ended, excuse me. You can add pretty much like any of the 5 or 6, and it's pretty solid. You got 3 Madolche Hootcake. This is your beast type monster in the deck. Banish a monster from your graveyard. It can be any monster, including like you used up Ash Blossoms, Effect Veilers, etc., etc. It gets you Madolche monster from deck. Technically, it can be a combo starter, but it's pretty reliant on you having a hand trap to start off and having you go second. But it technically could be a starter in that sense. Then other than that, we got hand traps. I got 5 hand traps. Got 3 Ash Blossom, and I got 2 Lancia. The Ash Blossom's pretty self-explanatory. Lancia is really good for the banish prevention. There's a lot of decks, at least at my locals and kind of in the meta, that banish a lot. So just drop this during standby phase, and then it lets you use Hootcake's effect if you go second, which is pretty consistent if you open the Lancia at least.
So if you're not playing the Lancia, are you going to be siding in anything else?
Probably Effect Veiler.
Okay.
Maybe Crossout Designator, just depending on the matchup.
Okay.
We got the monsters, that's all of those. Moving on to spells and traps. I run 2 Madolche Chateau. It's pretty good for attack boost. It shuffles all your Madolche monsters back into deck on activation, which also triggers the other spell's effects. It's pretty consistent. Since you can search it with Messengelato, you can activate it straight from hand with monsters in your graveyard to trigger a lot of the other effects, which is pretty good. Got 2 Madolche Salon. Basically a Gem Knight Seraphonite for Madolches. While it's on the board, you get an additional normal summon of a Madolche monster each turn, and if a Madolche monster you control or in your graveyard is returned to hand or shuffled into your main deck by any card effect, you get to set a Madolche spell or trap directly from your deck. That can be the spells, that can be the traps, and it's really open-ended, which is one thing I really like about that card. We got Madolche Ticket as our last Madolche spell. It's the same thing as Salon, but for monsters. And it doesn't have the additional normal summon, which is a little disappointing. But it lets you add a Madolche monster from deck to hand. But if you control fairy type Madolche monster, like one of the extra deck monsters, or Pudding Cess or Petting Susur, you get to special summon that monster in face-up attack position instead, which is really helpful for just getting free monsters on the board without having to waste a normal summon or having to wait for another turn. Alright, so we got 1 Called by the Grave, and I got 2 Cosmic Cyclones. These Called by the Grave is pretty self-explanatory, just nice hand trap prevention. Cosmic Cyclone, I run this instead of Twin Twisters because I don't need to discard. Usually when I have to discard for Twin Twisters, I usually have to discard a monster, which is really clunky, especially when I open Madolche Petting Susur. It can be a little unfortunate sometimes, so I prefer the Cyclone over the Twisters. That's all my spells. We got quite a few traps here.
I see a lot of purple over there.
Yeah, there's a lot of purple here. We got 3 Madolche Promenade. Essentially a pseudo impermanence for Madolches. You target a face-up card your opponent controls. It can be spell, it can be trap, it can be monster. It's pretty open-ended in that way. Then you also have to target a Madolche monster you control or in your graveyard. You negate the effects of the opponent's card and then return yours to the hand, which also triggers the spells, which is very nice in certain situations. Then also, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to attach a Madolche monster from hand deck or graveyard to any Madolche Xyz monster you control, which is also very nice for extending combos or saving a quick effect for your opponent's turn if you've used up all the materials beforehand. I got 3 Madolche Knights. This card isn't used as much for a lot of Madolche players, but I found it to be very useful for negating monster effects. If I go first, it's very nice for negating, like, for example, Unizombie and Zombies, some of the Lyrilusk effects, and et cetera, it's pretty useful in that regard. It's better than, just having Striker Solemn Warning in your deck, since it's searchable and all that. I got 3 Infinite Impermanents as well. Pretty self-explanatory, just kind of a hand trap deal. And then I got 2 Solemn Strike. This card was just in there with my build. I was comfortable with it, and I would honestly replace it with Small World. Just replace those 2 with Small World and call it a day.
All right, so just have 2 Small World in there?
Yeah, if I were to change anything about the main deck at least, I'd replace these 2 with Small World. It'd pretty much be 2 extra starters, which is very nice.
All right, let's jump into the extra deck.
Yeah. I got, for extra deck, 2 Madolche Pudding Cess Chocolate a la Mode, 2 Madolche Queen Tiramisu, and 3 Madolche Teacher Glass Souffle. Chocolate a la Mode is really great. If you have the field spell on the board, it's a 3,000 attack monster, which gets over just about anything in the game. You can also Xe summon her using any rank 4 or lower Madolche monster you control. And you can shuffle a monster in your graveyard back into deck using her effect. And if she has Pudding Cess as material, you can detach from her to special summon any Madolche monster from your deck in attack position or face down defense position, which is super useful. It's a great extender, and that card is the reason that the OTK exists. Then we got 2 Madolche Queen. Detach a material from her, then target 2 Madolches in your graveyard, any Madolche cards. So it can be the traps, it can be the spells that got destroyed, or anything like that. You shuffle those cards into the deck, and then your opponent shuffles cards they control into the deck up to the number of cards you returned. What's really good is it's a non-targeting, so you can just shuffle anything into the deck, and your opponent can't do anything about it unless they negate the original thing when you target the cards in your graveyard, which is awesome for some of the meta cards right now.
Okay.
Then the 3 Teachers, their effect is solid. Detach a material from her to target any Madolche monster on the field, and this turn it's unaffected by monster effects, and that's a quick effect, so it's really nice for stopping any like DPE effects or any like Dragoon effects, which is super helpful. That effect triggers the second effect usually when I do the combo. And the second effect is if any Madolche card is sent to the graveyard while she is on the field, I can shuffle up to 2 cards from either graveyard into the deck. And that's really good, especially with Chateau. You can recycle your Ash Blossoms, your Artifact Lancia, since it just shuffles any 2 cards. And if you have Chateau on the board, Ash Blossom can be returned to your hand, which is really fun. And I actually do that way more often than I thought I would. So we got those, and then everything else is pretty generic. It's pretty open-ended at this point for the extra deck. I got 1 Zeus. If I ever go into it, it's just a nice send everything to graveyard type of situation. Got Abyss Dweller for graveyard negation. I got Time Thief Redoer just for, just as a filler, really. I got Cowboy for that clutch 800 damage for game. I have...
The good old days.
Yeah. I got 2 F-Zeros, the Utopic Future and Draco Future. I didn't go into this at all during my matches today, but I figured if I throw it in, just might as well, just in case I ever do. But it's very rare I'm going to go into any of these just because of Petting Susur's effect. If you special summon from the deck or the hand, she locks you into Madolches. So And then the last two are my Link monster, which is Madolche Fresh Start. It's really good for protecting spells and traps. As long as she points to a Madolche monster, your Madolche spells and traps can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And then if she were to be destroyed, you can shuffle Madolche monster from graveyard into deck instead, which is really nice for triggering the effects during your opponent's turn, as well as keeping her on the board as long as possible so your spells and traps don't get obliterated.
Awesome.
That's the extra deck. And then I have 15 in the side deck, I'm pretty sure. And it's pretty open-ended as well, and I'm definitely replacing a couple of cards in this as well.
All right, well, go ahead and let us know which ones you would replace as you go through it.
Sure. Got one Lancia, just kind of the third, throw it in there. Got one DD Crow, I only have the one, unfortunately, so...
Are you playing these for Designator?
Yes.
Targets? Okay.
Yeah. Either that or DD Crow also works in the meta right now, too, with some of the graveyard effects. Spell Shattering Arrow is another one. I would replace this probably with a Dimensional Barrier. I have two in the side right now. I'd probably throw in a third and take out Spell Shattering Arrow for this one.
Okay.
I got two Cross-Out Designator. Just kind of the hand trap prevention. I have then two Anti-Spell Fragrance. Pretty good against most decks right now. I got three Crackdown. I have the two Dimensional Barrier. And then I have two Solemn Warning and one Royal Decree, and I'd probably replace these three as well with different hand traps, like maybe two Effect Veiler and one Drone Lock or something like that. But then again, I ran out of time just to throw everything together in a extremely detailed and coherent fashion. So.
All right, and you said that the only thing in the main deck would just be the Small Worlds?
Yeah.
You would add those? Okay.
I just take out the Psalm Strike just because Psalm Strike is a little slow in this day and age of Yu-Gi-Oh! So.
All right, well, thank you so much, Josh, for bringing us your Madolche deck. Make sure to stay tuned later on this week. We will have some live duels with this deck. I believe you went 1-1 with those duels?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll get to see those duels as well later on this week, so make sure to stay tuned for those. I'll make sure to put those up in the cards as well as in the description when those become available. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell on the way out the door because all your support is greatly appreciated. But until next time, guys, this is Nate from the Script Academy, signing out for now. Peace out.